All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back. We're going to talk about a couple big stories here of fighters turning down fights. And one of them is very understandable. The other one is not at all. And this is the other one right here. And we're going to get into Colby Covington turning down Garry's fight. Because, are you serious, dude? And we'll go through the details of why it's absurd that he is turning this down, the things that he said, the things Garry said, the fight card that he was offered on and or offered to fight him on, and I mean it just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. So we're gonna go through that, and then we're also gonna go through the Toria one because Toria has turned down the rematch with Alex Volkanovski. And that is a very notable story, and I will tell you what my opinion on the validity of him doing that is because it's very different than the Colby Covington. Now, listen, there might be details in the Colby Covington story that I am not privy to, but we're going to get into that. So that's what we're going to do. But first, really quick, everybody I think has probably heard that Francis Ngannou lost a son yesterday, over the weekend or yesterday, I'm not sure, but it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. If you have kids, this will obviously hit a lot harder because you understand. Like, having kids is one of those things where you just can't understand what it is to have kids until you have them. There's no one. It's not a matter of being insightful. It's not a matter of anything other than experience because you just can't know. You just cannot know. I remember when I was, I don't know, maybe like 26, 27, and I was working with this dude, Joshua, I was buddies with, and he had 2 kids, and I had a dog. I loved my dog. And I told him, I'm like, I just can't imagine loving anything more than I love the dog, man. Listen, dude, if I love my kids as much as I love my dog, they're going to have a great dad. And he just laughed, man. He's just like, okay, guy. And I was like, what? And I just was, in my mind, what I was saying made perfect sense. I'm like, no, you don't get it. You don't know how much I love my dog. But he was right, obviously, and it's just one of those things, like, I wasn't stupid, I was just ignorant, and everybody finds out when they actually have kids what they mean in your life. And anyone who has kids and is like an actual, like, active parent who everyone has thought about this. Everyone. Where it's like, dude, what if that, you don't want to put too much weight on it because you don't want to, like, create it into real life, but everyone who has kids can understand what this would mean. And I would not wish this on anyone, like literally anyone, no one. So condolences to Francis and his family. And, I'm sure details will be made public about what happened. I'm not going to share anything that I know other than it's no one's fault. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So, yeah, Francis probably not, he's not doing well, obviously, and you would be expected to not do well in that situation. I am not sure I would ever recover from this. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know how you put your life back together. I don't know how anything goes back to normal. I've had this conversation with people before a lot, where, it's like a standard conversation that people have. If someone yada yada to my wife, I'd do this. Or like, if someone yada yada to my kid, I would do this. And that is all true. But I've also said, like, if something happened to my kid and it was someone's fault, like someone did it to my kid and my kid was gone, and I went and exacted some horrifying revenge, it would never make it better. Like, it wouldn't fit. You can't fix it, dude. Like, it would not make you better. It would just be like, there would be this, like, thing inside you driving what you're doing because you feel like this has to happen, but, like, you wouldn't feel better, dude. It wouldn't even make it a little bit better. It's like a thing that breaks that can't be put back together. So anyway, I don't know. Condolences to Francis. I'm really sorry that this happened, and that's all I got. All right, so let's move on to the stories of the day. I'm gonna call an audible real quick because I am curious what this was, what the biggest payday was, and how much it was. So we're gonna watch this together about George Masvidal, how much he got paid. Hopefully he Tell us that, and who it was against, and then we're going to get into the Colby Covington and Ilia Topuria stuff.
Day of his UFC career, Masvidal was able to secure some very good paydays during the final few years of his UFC run. In a recent interview with DJ Vlad, Gamebred revealed he got paid $5 million to fight Kamaru Usman on short notice at UFC 251. You can watch the full interview on DJ Vlad's YouTube channel. The link is in today's video description.
And 6 days before the fight, the other route that they went with catches corona. And now the UFC calls me and they need somebody that could fill in a 6-day notice, fly across the world and cut 20 pounds of water in these 6 days and fight for a world title. And there's only one motherfucker in the whole world that could get that call for the bat signal. And that's this dude here. But I had to get paid, and I had to get paid very fucking handsomely for doing this. So they gave in to all my demands that I had.
The most you ever made off a fight was $5 million. Was it that fight?
Yeah, that's one of them. You know, that's one of the fights that I made the most money, period. You know? Because we ended up selling like right under 1.3 million pay-per-views. If I hadn't struck that deal with the UFC, I wouldn't have got nowhere near 5 million. I would have sold the same amount and got nowhere near 5 million. And I would have just felt like I got taken advantage of it. So part of me, the business side, I mean, the prize side of the fight was very, very much satisfied and happy, you know, for my kids, for myself, my family. But the guy that always wanted that world title belt wasn't, you know?
Dude, listen. Had he fought on that card and not gotten that deal, he would have gotten taken advantage of. Because when that fight did 1.3 million buys, they wouldn't have sniffed 1.3 million buys without Masvidal going, because that's when he's at his absolute peak, dude. That was the peak of Masvidal mania. And when you think about it in hindsight, taking a title fight on 6 days, having to cut 20 pounds without any notice, that's pretty bananas, dude. And that, like, so you're going to get all of the value from Masvidal, and he has to sacrifice the high likelihood, you know, like, this is not a super high likelihood he's going to win that fight given the circumstances. 6 days notice, you know, really tough matchup. Kamaru Usman seemed pretty much invincible at that point. I mean, dude, that you got to get paid for that if you're Masvidal. So that's awesome that he got a payday like that. $5 million is a lot of dough. You know, if you think about it though, if we're being honest, Masvidal probably was responsible for at least 600,000 or 700,000 of those buys, right? Seriously. Let's just say he was responsible for 500,000 buys, okay? So those buys would not have happened otherwise, okay? So what's 500,000 times 75? Let's do that math on our calculator literally right this second. 500,000 times 75, boom, that's $37 million. Okay, now that's $37 million. I'm sure there's all kinds of fees. The UFC is not going to get all of that, but let's say the UFC got 20 of that. Okay, so Masvidal is responsible for $20 million additional dollars to the UFC, and it's probably a little bit more than that, and he only got $5 million of it. Did he really get a good deal? You know what I mean? Did he really get a good deal? Not really, you know? Not really, but it is extraordinarily rare for a fighter to be as popular as Masvidal. That's not normal for a guy to be able to drive an additional 500,000 buys. You're talking Masvidal right then, Conor, you know, what is on my face? What is that? I don't even know what that is. All right, but you know. Anyway, that is, but congratulations. I mean, he got $5 million there. He probably got $5 million for his next fight with Kamaru. He got paid a lot for the Nate Diaz fight. So, you know, he made millions. Hopefully he saved it because, you know, earning potential to make money like that, you know, when you're not fighting is much harder, obviously. But he's got a big fight coming up with Nate Diaz. I hope they do really, really well. And let's move on. All right, so we're going to start with the Colby Covington story. And then we're going to go through some of the things that Colby said to Ian Garry, which make this absurd. You can't not take this fight, dude. Like, you can't do what you did and then not take this fight. That's a thing you can't do because, like, I mean, what are you doing? You called this kid out, dude. You have to fight him. Okay? So anyway, let's watch this real quick, and then I want to show you what Ian Garry responded with, which was hilarious. Then we'll get into the Ilia Topuria thing.
Colby Covington rejects UFC 303 fight against Ian Garry. For months now, Covington and Garry have engaged in a verbal back and forth, and it's been drumming up anticipation for a fight between the two. However, Covington has now shed light as to his comeback date during a recent appearance on the Hodge Twins podcast. There he confirmed that he will for sure return in the summer, aiming to compete on the UFC 303 card, which Conor McGregor is set to headline. Covington also said he is searching for an opponent who could propel him back into title contention if he wins, explicitly stating that Ian Garry ain't that guy.
So what you got coming up? Future, you got any fights or?
Yeah, I'm gonna fight this summer for sure. Someone's gonna get fought. So, they're trying to figure out who the biggest name and the best business that we can do for the UFC. So, International Fight Week is like their big event in the summer, capped off by this big pay-per-view on Saturday. So, I think that's when they're planning for me is International Fight Week. Just trying to figure out who's gonna be the guy.
You got anybody in your sights yet, or who's your biggest beef right now?
I got unfinished business with my last fight. Leon Edwards, the guy that has the title right now. I broke my foot in the first, 5 seconds of the fight. I threw a kick. It broke in 3 different places.
Bro, there is no way you're getting an immediate title shot. There is absolutely no way, dude. I don't think. Can you imagine if they gave him an immediate rematch? Listen, I love Colby. Great for the sport. I know he is very different than what he presents when he's on stage and stuff, but they can't justify that. There's not anybody who knows anything about how the UFC match, there's no way. There is no way. Leon Edwards, that is what?
So that wasn't me that night. So whoever I have to go through to get
that was your last fight.
That was my last fight, December.
Okay, so he's saying whoever he has to go through to get a rematch with Leon.
So is he probably gonna be your next fight?
No, I'm going to probably have to fight someone else to get back to him. So whoever, there's this kid.
Okay, I retract what I said.
This been calling me out, this kid Ian Garry. He's a nobody. I gave him some stipulations. I said, hey, man, if you want to fight me, you have to show me you're serious about business because when I do business, I'm serious about it. He has to show me he's serious. He was supposed to be in the last fight in the press conference. He pulls out the day of the press conference. So that shows me that he's not serious.
Darren Till responds to Mike.
Dude. Listen, okay. Let's be honest. That is a bad matchup for Colby. I think that is a reasonable thing to say. That Ian Garry is young, he's fast, he's super dangerous, and no one has been able to take him down yet. And on the feet, Colby gets beat to bits against Ian Garry. Now, obviously, he's not going to say this is a bad. This is a bad matchup. I don't think I'm going to win. It's, you know what I mean? And I'm not even sure if that's what his take is, but dude, you can't be making videos about the guy and then turn down a fight with him at UFC 303. Okay, so now let's look at what Ian Garry said real quick, and we will go from there. Watch this.
You want to call Colby the Cardio King? Yeah, he calls himself the Cardio King. Let's find out. If Colby finds himself to be the Cardio King, let's see if he'll show up June 29th, co-main, McGregor versus Chandler. And let's see if he'll put that to the fucking test, little wimp. Doesn't want any of this smoke. His foot's sore. Did you know that? His foot's sore. He broke his foot in December. It's April. It'll be 6 months by June. But no, his foot's.
Ready?
Iniciar. Vamos, Colby. Vamos, meu filho. And no, I'm not going to out cardio him. I'm going to finish him in 1. I don't need any cardio from him. This is for the rest of the division when I dominate.
All right, now let's do this, dude. Let's switch it up a little bit here and go like this. Let's look at the UFC rankings and see what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? So if it's not going to be him, who's it going to be? Okay? So here you go. Kamaru, number 1. Colby and Kamaru not fighting again. Bilal is going to be fighting Leon. Shavkat. Hey, you want that fight? Colby, you want that fight? You want the Shavkat fight? I don't think so. Jack Della Maddalena, maybe. Maybe Jack Della Maddalena, maybe he likes that fight better. But he just dirt napped Gilbert Burns. And then you got Ian Garry. So you guys tell me who on this list, because those are your only options. You got to go top 5. Or, maybe Gilbert Burns, but Colby don't want that fight. Colby doesn't want Gilbert Burns. You can't grapple with him. You can't grapple with him. You're going to be stuck on the feet. I mean, maybe Colby wants to get on the feet with Gilbert Burns, maybe. But he's only one ahead of Ian Garry. He's only one ranking. Like he's only one ahead. Jack Della Magdalena is super dangerous also. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know what Colby is thinking. Like, I think that he is holding out hope that they'll do the Stephen Thompson fight because it's a much better matchup for him. You know? That's the only thing that I can think of. Or maybe he's like, oh, I'll do Michael Venom Page or something. I don't know. This is weird, dude. Let's look at what Colby said about Ian Garry, and then we'll come back to this too. Remember this?
Greetings, nerds and virgins. It's America's champ, the people's champ, Donald Trump's favorite fighter. We're in beautiful sunny South Florida. Most people, they work 60 years just to get a taste of the good life. This is what I live every day. We just shot 18 holes at Trump International, West Palm Beach. Now we're out here selling on 7 figures and salty nerd tears. Usually when you're out here, it's all about fishing. Everybody knows when you're going fishing, it's important to have the right bait.
He's so bad at this, but that makes him so good at it, dude. Like, this is so robotic that it's ridiculous. But because it's Colby and he's like this every time, it makes it hilarious to me personally.
So let me teach you all a lesson about how you bait someone. Ian Garry, you translucent cuck. You wanted my attention? Now you got it. Everybody knows why you want to fight me, Ian. I'm the biggest star in the division. It's big city, bright lights, and the most attention and eyes you're ever gonna have on you when it fight. But everybody knows, Ian, you missed your chance. You had your chance in December to step on the same stage as me and have a microphone and say whatever you want to say to me. But you were scared. You were scared of what I was going to say to you, and you got the sniffles, and you cried your way out. That was just a taste of what I could do to you, Ian. All I did was ask the 5,000 people in attendance how many people banged your wife. It's not my fault every single one of them rose their hand. If you're scared of that, Ian, if you're scared of words, what do you think it's going to be like when you step in a steel cage with chaos? You just went life and death with a guy that does this part-time and is a busboy out back. Dude serves bloomin' onions for a living, and you went to a split decision with that guy? Now you want Donald Trump's favorite fighter? That's a big step up in competition, Junior. You're biting off more than you can chew. You know what? I'm a giving man. I'm a kind man. I like to give everyone a chance. So everybody knows, Ian, what's in it for you. But what's in it for me? Tell me.
Dude, okay, first of all, what's in it for you is it's a huge fight. It's a massive fight. And it's also, again, the fight that makes most sense when you look at the rankings. This makes the most sense unless you want Jack Della Magdalena or Shavkat. Okay. Let's continue here. This is hilarious.
Wait, why do I gotta go down in the rankings to fight some Casper the Ghost looking Irish kid who has a gold digging wife? Let me teach you the art of the deal.
Again, down in the rankings. All right, so you want Shavkat? Because that's the only fight that makes any sense here, because Bilal is going to fight Leon next. You're not fighting Kamaru. Shavkat is the only other fight for you here. Let's continue on this story here. What am I doing here? Hey, guys, I lost my place. Jeez. All right, good on.
Well, Ian, let's come to a compromise. If you can meet these 3 stipulations, we got to fight. Stipulation number 1, you and that gold-digging whore got to turn your Instagram comments back on. And if you turn them off before the fight, you forfeit the fight. If you turn them off during fight week or after I beat your ass, you forfeit your purse. Stipulation number 2. Ian, we've heard you cry and beg on your knees, but we all know that you're not the boss and you don't wear the pants in the relationship. Layla, you got 60 seconds to convince me and the people why this fight needs to happen. So put your husband in the corner, get on your hands and knees, and beg. Now for stipulation number 3.
Come on, dude. Fight him, man. Fight him. That's so good, dude. This will be the best build-up ever. He'll humiliate Ian Garry's wife. Like, he can... Oh, my God. It'll be so good, man. Please. All right, let's wrap this thing up here.
My personal favorite. As you all might have noticed, something's been missing from my MyBookie promos lately. That's because I've been saving that spot for a special someone. Layla, you want to be a star? You want the spotlight? I got it for you, sweetie. You want your 15 seconds of fame, Layla? I'll give you your 15 seconds of fame right here for America's Pick of the Week. After I beat your husband, because that's a foregone conclusion, I will beat him. He's going to sit in the corner just like he does with all that cuck stuff you guys do, and he's going to watch
while you get your 15 seconds of fame. Ball's in your court now, cuck boy. I'll have my lawyers draft up the papers. You got 24 hours to respond.
Dude, this is a tragedy. Okay, if let me say this. If Garry hit up Colby and was like, I will do all this, and then Colby wrote that up, contract, he should have done it. I'm blaming both of them, dude. Should have agreed to this because he should. Dude, actually, can you imagine if his girl had to do a my bookie pick of the week? That would have been so funny. They would have ended up being friends, actually. If that would, like, if Colby beat Garry and then Layla had to do that thing and they had to film it and they were all there, dude, that would have been hilarious. They'd end up being friends. But this is a goddamn tragedy. This fight needs to happen. All right, last up, I want to talk about the Toria turning down the fight with Volkanovski. And I'm going to defend him on this because the headline is that he turned down the fight with Volkanovski, but that's not exactly what happened here. Okay, Toria refused to go to Perth to defend his title against Alexander Volkanovski. Okay, so Toria is like, why would I have to go to Volkanovski's hometown in order to defend my title, right? And that makes perfect sense, right? Not to mention, let's be honest. If you're Toria after UFC 300, do you want to fight anyone except Max Holloway? No, Max Holloway is the biggest star in the organization. Now, I think he's going to be disappointed because I think that the UFC has other plans for Max Holloway, and they're like, you're just not going to see anything happen with Max Holloway until after UFC 303, most likely. And that is probably why they were doing Toria. They're trying to get him booked for 305. But if he turns that down, I don't think you're going to see Ilya get booked, period, until after Chandler fights Conor. Because I think that the BMF title, they have to see what happens there. Because if Max Holloway goes and fights Toria in between and he loses, that takes all the hype off of a potential BMF matchup, assuming that Conor won, or even Chandler wins by knockout. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to risk that situation, in my opinion. I would be absolutely flabbergasted if they booked Max Holloway before UFC 303. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's almost impossible that happens. So let's go ahead and that's probably enough, actually. I'm going to wrap this thing up. So I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Best wishes to Francis. And Colby, please go and change your mind and fight Ian Machado Garry at UFC 303 and light him up in the press conference, and let's see how he responds in the cage. I love you guys. Bye-bye.